welcome back to B.HookedCrochet.com. I'm your host Brittany. In this video I'm going to demonstrate how to crochet the 5-minute jersey bracelet. It's a free pattern that's available at B.HookedCrochet.com, and you can find the link to that pattern in the description below. To complete one bracelet you're going to need about 2 to 3 yards of t-shirt yarn and a size 8mm hook. To begin our bracelets, we just need to make a slip knot. And so I like to wrap the yarn around my index finger and then just simply pull that back loop over to the front and then pull that other loop up and over my finger. There's a couple other ways that you can make a slip knot, and then you'll just place that loop on your hook. Now, one thing I will note is that you want to leave yourself a couple of inches of a tail when you create your slip knot. We're going to use that to tie the bracelet together at the end. So from here we need to create 2 chains. So we just need to wrap that working yarn, pull it through, and do that one more time. Wrap it and pull it through. And there we've created our 2 chains you can see here. Now what we need to do at this point is insert our hook into the first chain. And so you can just catch one of those loops and then grab your working yarn and pull it through that chain, and then grab your working yarn again and pull it through just the first loop only. Now we want to take that loop that we just created, slide it off of our hook, and just slide it right onto your thumb. And we're doing that because we don't want to drop that loop. We're going to pick it up later. And if you leave, you don't actually have to put it on your thumb, but if you do, it's easier to pull that loop out. So I just like to stick it there to keep it secure. Then we'll just wrap the working yarn again and pull through the remaining loop on our hook. Now from here, just replace that loop onto our hook that was on your thumb, and we're just going to repeat those steps. So yarn over, pull through first loop only, then slide that loop onto your thumb, then yarn over, pull through the remaining loop, and then replace the loop on your hook. Now if you're familiar with crochet, you probably recognize this and you're saying, aha, we're actually just crocheting an I-cord, and that's exactly what we're doing. This bracelet is very simple, and it's just using a simple I-cord crochet method. And I actually really like to use t-shirt yarn to practice the I-cord if this is brand new to you, because it's so thick and it's so easy to work with that you don't have to worry about these loops coming out as you work on them. So we basically just want to keep doing what we're doing until the bracelet is as long as we need it to fit around our wrist. So this is going to be different for everybody, of course. And I like to make my bracelet about 6.5 inches long. So I have pretty small wrists, and so about 6.5 inches is right for me. And that makes the bracelet somewhat snug around my wrist, so it doesn't like slide over my hand or anything. But you can take a quick measurement of your wrist and see if that size works for you, or after you've crocheted your I-cord a little bit longer, just wrap it around and kind of gauge it that way. So I wanted to point out what your I-cord looks like at certain stages. Since there are 2 things that you have to do where you're pulling the loop off and you're putting a new one on, then it can get a little bit confusing if you have to put this down and then come back to it later to know where you left off. So looking at my I-cord now, you can see that both of the loops on my hook are completely even. And so we know that this is basically at the point where I'm going to be repeating the steps. So what I need to do from here is yarn over and pull through the first loop, right? Because that's our first step to the I-cord. And see how it changed the appearance of the actual cord itself here? We can see that extra little chain. And so the next step we need to do is just put that onto our thumb. We'll yarn over and pull through. And of course we probably wouldn't stop at this stage because we've got this loop on our hook. What we would do is place the loop back on our hook, and see, it looks exactly like it did at the beginning of this frame where I showed you where I had stopped. So those are a couple visual cues, because realistically, you know, you might get interrupted as you're working on this, and you'll need to know how to come back, because otherwise if you do the wrong steps, like say you yarn over, pull through one, you get distracted, you yarn over, pull through one again, and then move on. So you would put that on your thumb, yarn over, pull through, and then put that back. See how that kind of forms a twist? So it looks right from this angle, but it doesn't really look right from this angle. And so that's just one way that you can keep track of your I-cord and make sure that you get the most professional outcome as possible. Once your I-cord is the proper length, in my case, as I said, it's about 6.5 inches for me, then you want to stop at the point where your I-cord looks like this, so where we would repeat the first step. So we've got both of the loops that look exactly even, so we know that we're at the beginning then of the next stitch. Then we can just bind off and leave yourself about 3 inches or so. And then you just want to take that tail and pull it through both of the loops on your hook. And then you just want to pull that tight, and that's going to fasten off the edge of your I-cord. And so to finish off our bracelets, it's super simple. All we need to do is take the two tails and tie them in a knot. And you want to make that last knot pretty tight, so we don't want that to come undone. And then I'm just going to trim off the extra little pieces of yarn there. And there we go. That's all there is to it. This is about as simple as they come. And as you can see, we finished in probably less than 5 minutes. So these make really great gifts, last minute Christmas ideas, or stocking stuffers. And they're actually quite trendy. One last thing I want to bring up is the fact that t-shirt yarn is so variable, and especially if you're making your own t-shirt yarn, you could come out with two different outcomes. And so what I've done here is I've created two bracelets that are exactly the same using the same hook. The only difference here is the type of t-shirt yarn that I used. So this off-white bracelet was crocheted using Lion Brand fettuccine, and the red was crocheted using Premier brand. It's their craft tee t-shirt yarn line. And so you can see within the bracelet that these two t-shirt yarns are very different, and sometimes there's even variability within brands. So I wanted to pull these two side by side so you can get another visual. This is the Premier brand, and this is another Lion Brand fettuccine. And so you can see when you kind of unravel this Lion Brand how wide this t-shirt yarn is. And that's what makes a much chunkier bracelet. So if this is your overall appearance, then you want to go for a chunkier t-shirt yarn, or if you're making it yourself, you want to cut your strips approximately 2 inches wide, okay? And this is the Premier brand, and this is only about 1 inch or so wide when you unravel it, but it's also kind of a stretchier and a softer type of material. So depending on the type of t-shirt yarn that you get, just know that you may have a slightly variable appearance and your size may vary a little bit. But thankfully this is a really versatile pattern, and you can create a bracelet however big or small based on how many stitches you use in your I-cord. This concludes our tutorial today on the 5-minute jersey bracelet. Stay tuned for more free patterns and video tutorials at BHookedCrochet.com.